the place of snares, it's really because the Maori who were here from 1821 onwards, this is where they'd come and snare birds, I think, pigeon, kaka. It was also had trails which led over to some of their traditional hunting grounds. This was a place where they could find their food and snare their food. Oh, this is an interesting one. The Ōtari is important on many levels. When I started this book, I quickly realised that it wasn't just a garden book. It's also a botanical book. It's a book about conservation, about social history, but local history is really important. Ever since Ōtari-Wilton stopped the 17 acres from being felled in the 1860s, people from Wellington have been coming here and picnicking and walking and loving it and relishing the bush, loving the bird song. We get that old bird song now, picnicking and just embracing it, I think. One of the really significant things about these early caretakers and curators is that they did a lot to build the collection as well as maintain it and develop paths and to develop how Ōtari looks. So plant hunting expeditions have been a really big and important thing. They would collect the specimens and they'd wrap them in sphagnum moss, and they carry them with the greatest care back to Ōtari, where they would propagate them and try to get them established, and not generally with great success. But they all developed different collections. They all did things their way. But I just think the curators have all continued collecting, developing, and just bringing the gardens together, trying to work out how to make it more relevant to a greater number of people, and how to display their plants better at each time. So the development of new gardens goes on. When I write a book, I like stories. I think people like learning through stories, and I really enjoy doing the stories within the stories and the backstories. And it's not just we could have just done a botanical book, but actually Ōtari is about the people. So I felt there was no way I could separate out of the people stories from the plant stories, and they have to just be run in parallel, be interwoven, and that's what I've tried to do. Some people have referred to them as this is a book of heroes. This is a book of, Job Wilton, who saved the 17 acres from destruction, was a hero. Leonard Cockayne and John Gretton Mackenzie, who thought of the Native Plant Museum, they were heroes because of this extraordinary vision. And then we had a succession of remarkable caretakers. Tried to get as many details of what those people were like as possible. So a bit of warmth and humour, and I hope people are transported back into the 1940s and 1950s, and to get some insight into what these early passionate plants people did. That passion's never stopped. I mean, I'm just talking about those earlier years, but everyone who has been a curator or a manager here has been a remarkable plants person. That's right through to today with Tim Park and Megan Ireland and their team. This is not a place where people who are ho-hum about their profession or their jobs would come to work. I think the major and exciting thing now has been the development of the laboratory, which local Lions clubs put a lot of money into, and we do have scientists working there. Karen van der Voort, and she has been sort of powering that. They do huge research and working with Te Papa on things like native orchids. They're very big on eco-sourcing seeds, because you want to get seeds that are pure So take the Muhlenbeckia, that's very wiry bush that we see everywhere, actually is endangered in the wild. There are different North Island populations and South Island populations. It is important that when they grow them both here, it is important that when they get their seeds, they put special bags over the flowers so that they can't be cross-pollinated. And then they collect the seeds and they know those seeds are the right ones from that particular species. I find that particularly interesting. There are rare and endangered plants around New Zealand, and so they're doing a huge amount of research to try and work out how they can, just to understand more about it. They also collect seeds and they store them at a cold temperature, so as a seed bank for the future. There's a Noah's Ark element of this, of preserving, looking at what's here today, but preserving for the future. Well, the Ōtari-Wilton Bush Trust, they are a body of great, passionate supporters of Ōtari, and for many years they've been doing things like guiding people around and helping do things like viewing platforms around Moko, the big green tree. And they decided they wanted to do something that was a little bit more lasting or a bit more obvious to the public, because many people, even in Wellington, hardly know Ōtari is here. And given that it's New Zealand's national, it's our native plant garden, and it's a garden, a 6-star garden of international significance, they felt it really needed to be much better known. And so they decided a book would be the thing, and a very beautiful book. So I was approached by them. This has been a particularly collaborative process, I think. I mean, I've written a lot of books, and one thing about book writing is that you do it yourself, by yourself. It's a long and lonely thing, but this has had probably more teamwork than most, and I've really enjoyed that, working with the members of the trust board who are pretty expert in their field. And I've worked with all the past curators, or the living ones living, and the sons of two, and they've contributed marvellous information. So all those things together make it a very collaborative process. I'm a great fan of a lot of the story being told by the pictures, and grabbing people's attention, and often weaving some of the information into captions or breakouts. It was wonderful to get Chris Code on board, because I think his photographs are what brings it into the 21st century. I think it gives it this makes a snapshot of now, and will give it a much even more longevity and relevance perhaps to a wider variety of readers who just want to open it up and think, oh wow, isn't that fantastic? So and he did the beautiful cover and everything as well. I feel you can walk into some of his pictures, they're lovely. We're hoping that this is going to really raise awareness of this extraordinary, this unique garden, and bring many more people here. And anyone who comes here, I feel that they are lured in, they're intrigued, enchanted by the spaces like this, impressed by the collections and the work that is going on here. As we go into a more uncertain world with global warming, I think the more people who become interested in our bush and conservation issues and preserving the wonderful plants we have, the better, really.